the $200 million Mirage. December 2009. Dubai Marina. A demolition crew from a world-renowned implosion firm stands in the shadow of a $200 million structural catastrophe. They are staring up at a problem that shouldn't exist in the playground of billionaires. 55,000 tons of premium, heat-resistant reinforced concrete leaning dangerously out of alignment. The structural columns are spider-webbed with deep fractures. The internal load paths are completely compromised. Surrounding the drop zone are ultra-luxury penthouses, a bustling multi-lane highway, and a crowded public promenade. The team has exactly 3.5 seconds to get the detonation sequence right. If they fail, a 31-story hyper-luxury skyscraper will topple sideways, slicing through a dense residential neighborhood. This was the Onyx Tower, a masterpiece of glass, steel, and high-end marble designed to be the ultimate status symbol for wealthy expats. It featured 147 elite residences, infinity pools, and private helipads. Yet, it never welcomed a single resident. It could not survive the very ground it was built upon. This is the definitive story of how a Dubai mega-project was utterly defeated by the shifting, unforgiving terrain beneath it. The boom and the blueprint go back to 2005. Dubai was riding the biggest, most aggressive real estate boom the Middle East had ever seen. Artificial islands were rising from the Persian Gulf, and developers were racing to plant record-breaking towers along the coast. The pitch was simple. Absolute luxury paired with cutting-edge engineering, the Onyx Tower was supposed to be the crown jewel of this new wave. Standing over 400 feet tall, it promised buyers a lifetime of elite waterfront living. Construction kicked off in April 2006. By 2008, the massive concrete shell was topped out and gleaming in the desert sun. From the marina, it looked like the future, but 120 feet below the glamorous facade, a hidden crisis was already unfolding. Dubai's coast isn't solid rock. It is a complex, hyper-shifting matrix of marine sand, reclaimed land, and deeply buried, compressible clay layers. When you stack a massive, concentrated concrete monolith onto this geology, the margin for error is zero. And someone had just missed the warning signs. The reckoning underground the structural failure of the Onyx Tower didn't start in the air. It was baked into the desert floor. The geotechnical consultant on the project was tasked with analyzing the subsurface profile. In Dubai's ultra-dense marine environments, this engineering step dictates whether a skyscraper stands for a century or buckles under its own immense weight. The engineering team drilled exploratory borings down approximately 100 feet. Based on what they found in that upper zone, their recommendation seemed sound: a foundation system utilizing 400 high-pressure auger-cast concrete piles, driven 95 feet deep into what appeared to be a stable, load-bearing sand stratum. The catastrophic error lay just 20 feet deeper, sitting directly beneath those piles. From 120 to 190 feet below grade, lay a massive, undetected layer of highly compressible marine clay. Along the reclaimed coastlines of the UAE, these hidden clay pockets are notorious geological hazards. When you focus 55,000 tons of dead weight onto a sand layer that rests directly on top of soft clay, physics takes over. The clay slowly, unevenly compresses under the extreme pressure, triggering a slow-motion disaster. The breaking point through 2007, construction pushed forward at a blistering pace. Floor after floor was poured, the attached multi-story parking garage took shape, and high-end glass cladding began wrapping the exterior. To the public, the project looked like another Dubai success story. Behind the scenes, the structural physics were failing. In early 2008, the ground gave way. Deep structural cracks violently ruptured through the main load-bearing columns. This wasn't cosmetic settling. The concrete was spalling, bursting outward under intense stress. The heavy main tower was sinking rapidly, while the lighter, attached parking structure remained relatively buoyant. When emergency forensic teams rushed to the site in May 2008, the telemetry was terrifying. The high-rise core had undergone over 14 inches of differential settlement. In skyscraper engineering, safe settlement is measured in fractions of an inch. A 14-inch uneven drop is a catastrophic structural emergency. The immense shear forces literally tore the building apart at the joints. The connection between the tower and the garage became a structural fault line, leaving the multi-million-dollar tower visibly leaning, unlivable, and completely structurally terminal. The forensic autopsied construction ground to a sudden halt. The site transformed from a bustling megaproject into an active engineering crime scene. The developers quickly flew in top-tier structural forensic analysts from global engineering firms. Their objective: determine if this multi-million-dollar disaster could be salvaged, or if the structure was a total loss. The findings were damning. The building was actively moving. The deep, unmapped clay layer was still compressing under the immense weight, meaning the tower was continuing its slow-motion tilt. The forensic team noted that a repair was theoretically possible, but practically insane. To save the tower, engineers would have to structurally detach the massive parking garage, lift portions of the main tower using ultra-heavy hydraulic jacks, and somehow drill completely new, deep foundation piles past the 190-foot mark to bypass the clay layer entirely. The financial and logistical reality of this was a nightmare. The specialized engineering would cost tens of millions of dollars, and even if successful, the building's reputation was utterly ruined. In a luxury market driven by prestige, who would buy an ultra-premium penthouse in a skyscraper known across the Middle East as the Leaning Tower of Dubai? The economics collapsed completely. By late 2009, the verdict was finalized: complete demolition, blame and blowout. In the courts before the explosives could be laid, the multi-million-dollar legal warfare began. In mid-2008, the developer launched a massive $125 million lawsuit against the geotechnical consultants and the structural engineering teams. The core of the legal assault centered on professional negligence. The lawsuit argued that the geotechnical firm had stopped their test borings just 20 feet short of the treacherous clay layer. They had designed a massive skyscraper's foundation based on incomplete, short-sighted data. The engineering firms vigorously defended their methodologies, pointing to the unpredictable nature of reclaimed coastal land and shifting marine soil profiles. The legal battle dragged through the Dubai courts, filled with complex technical counterclaims and expert testimonies. Ultimately, the public never got a definitive verdict on fault. The case ended in a quiet, confidential settlement out of court. But while the lawyers argued over the paperwork, the 55,000-ton concrete ghost still had to be dealt with. The human cost of a marriage behind the staggering technical data and the legal warfare sat a human tragedy. The Onyx Tower wasn't just a collection of reinforced concrete and glass. It was a vertical neighborhood of investments, dreams, and life savings belonging to expats from all over the world. When sales launched during the peak of the property boom, wealthy British, European, and South Asian investors rushed to put down massive deposits. Take the case of Michael and Sarah, an expat couple who had spent 15 years working in Dubai's financial sector. They poured their entire corporate retirement fund into a 3-bedroom duplex penthouse on the 28th floor, lured by the promise of floor-to-ceiling views of the Persian Gulf. Instead of an elite asset, they were left holding a worthless piece of paper because the project collapsed before completion. Buyers were plunged into a devastating legal limbo. Under construction laws at the time, escrow protections were complex, leaving hundreds of families locked out of their money while the developers and banks traded blame. Retirement plans vanished overnight. Young professionals who had stretched their finances to buy into the ultimate Dubai lifestyle suddenly found themselves paying mortgages on luxury units that were structurally sinking into the mud. The world record implosion by December 2009, the time for legal stalling was over. The building was a major public hazard, and it had to come down. The job was handed to Controlled Demolition Incorporated. This was not a standard demolition. The Onyx Tower had been built to withstand extreme offshore winds and seismic activity. Its central core walls were massive, up to 30 inches thick, and packed with dense, high-tensile rebar. To make matters worse, the structure was already structurally compromised and leaning, meaning the internal weight distribution was completely unpredictable. The demolition team was attempting to break a world record, the largest reinforced concrete structure ever brought down with explosives. The surrounding area was incredibly high stakes. The drop zone was flanked by occupied luxury low-rises, the primary marina highway, and a heavily trafficked public promenade. There was zero room for error. The plan required absolute precision. The team had to use custom-calibrated charges to fracture the thick core walls, instantly tilt the leaning building 15 degrees toward an open clearance zone, and then drop the entire 55,000 tons vertically into its own footprint. The critical window was just 3.5 seconds. That was the exact delay sequence that would mean the difference between a textbook implosion and a 31-story tower toppling like a felled tree into an active Dubai neighborhood. Thousands of spectators and news crews gathered on balconies and bridges as the countdown hit zero. A rapid succession of thunderous cracks echoed across the marina. The structural core fractured perfectly. The high-tensile guiding cables held, and in exactly 12.5 seconds, $200 million of hyper-luxury real estate collapsed into a neat, contained mountain of dust and rubble. 3 years of intense construction, completely erased in the time it takes to blink. The deserts warning the dust from the spectacular implosion eventually cleared, but the structural shockwaves are still felt across the UAE real estate market today. The Onyx Tower became an immediate, sobering case study in engineering universities and architectural firms worldwide. It proved a brutal truth. No matter how much capital you possess, and no matter how grand your architectural vision is, you cannot out-engineer a fundamentally flawed foundation. The disaster completely altered how Dubai approaches coastal mega-projects. In the years following the collapse, municipalities dramatically tightened geotechnical regulations. Today, any developer wishing to build an ultra-luxury high-rise along the shifting marine sands or reclaimed lands of the Gulf must conduct exhaustive, multi-layered deep subsurface testing far beyond the old standards. But the underlying risks have not vanished, as the region continues to push the boundaries of civil engineering. Building taller, heavier, and closer to the water, the natural elements fight back. The intense, blistering desert heat causes extreme thermal expansion in glass and steel facade elements. Meanwhile, marine water tables continuously challenge foundation waterproofing, and the massive weight of these vertical cities places unrelenting pressure on the reclaimed land beneath them. The ghost of the Leaning Tower of Dubai serves as a permanent, multi-million-dollar warning. One missed soil layer, one set of test borings that stops just 20 feet too short, and even the most luxurious skyscraper in the world can be completely defeated by the quiet compression of the dirt underneath it. In the race to touch the sky, the most critical battle is